Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Herbert Harris, and this is Success Mentorship class number 244. Wow. It's been quite a journey, folks, and thank you so much for being with us today. Our topic for today is using your imagination to expand your goals. Using your imagination to expand your goals. Now, this is a very powerful topic because imagination gives you access to infinite intelligence. Before we go into our lesson for today, number one, thanks on Instagram for being with us. Thank you, Carolyn. Great. I see Lynette and many others. Thank you on Facebook for being with us. And of course, our Success Mentorship Network group. For those of you who are listening, of course, our topics are taken from our book, The 12 Universal Laws of Success. And right now, as we close this year out, we're really giving a series of messages to help close this year out. This message in particular, using your imagination to expand your goals, is a part of a three-part series. And so today, we're talking about laying the foundation to really transform your goals, expand your goals by utilizing and expanding your imagination. I invite you all to visit our website, our link tree, www.herbertharris.info. That's www.herbertharris.info. And there are all kinds of great gifts there for you. Number one, there's a beautiful wealth building audio available, a planning booklet to help you set up to close this year out strong, and information about our home study course. All right, before we move into our lecture for this morning, let us get centered. Let us do our brief meditation. Just close your outer eyes, open your inner eyes, and take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. And let us affirm, I am at peace with myself together. I am at peace with myself. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. And in this state of peace and relaxation, our minds are open, receptive, and ready to learn. Let us affirm together, my mind is open, receptive, and ready to learn. Once more, my mind is open, receptive, and ready to learn. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. All right. Folks, I'm excited because this lesson today is really laying a foundation for some of the other things that we're going to be doing for these next two topics. And there's a great quote from Muhammad Ali about imagination. And he says, the man who has no imagination has no wings. I'll say that again. The man who has no imagination has no wings. And I'm going to add to that a Herbert Harris quote. Imagination gives wings to your purpose. Imagination gives wings to your purpose. So this topic today is, just a book reference. We're looking at pages 81 through 86 in chapter 3, the law of vision. That's reference. And this topic is very important because right now we're at the point of closing out our year. We live in a life of continuity. Wherever we are now is also where we start tomorrow. And so it is important to always be aware of two things. Now, where we are now, and next, where we would like to be. And more importantly, what we must do now to create the next that we would love to experience. At this point in the year, we have just a couple of months left, and the time that we have available is our gift from God. I love to share that thought that time is our gift from God, and what we do with that time is our gift to God. So as we look at where we are now at this point in the year, sometimes there's that tendency to say, you know what, I'm going to wait. I'm going to get myself together and I'm going to start next year with a bang. Well, you have just given away your God-given gift of time. You know, someone who's no longer here would treasure those next 2 months to transform their lives and to live their dreams. And so where we are right now, as we close out this year, it is most important to be effective and efficient. So the question dealing with now is this: are you happy with where you are? Are you happy with your life right now? Are you happy with your level of performance? Are you happy with your level of results? And if you're happy right now with everything that you've done to date, hallelujah, excellent. Then the question is, what can I do to live better? What can I do to expand even more? You know, life is a constant process of growth. And the moment we accept that static principle of, I'm here, I'm done, this is it, we start that principle of death. And so, am I happy with my life right now? What would I like to do to change my life right now to create the life that I desire? So that is really the question. What can I do right now to create the next that I would love to live? I thought about this question so many times, and I think back on a story of Jim Carrey. When Jim Carrey was a struggling actor, comedian, I mean, he was doing bad. And one of the things that he did, he visualized himself receiving a check for $20 million for his services. And that was what he saw in his imagination, and it came to pass. Now notice this, he didn't imagine a check for $1 million. He didn't imagine a check for $5 million. He imagined a check for $20 million. And so what does that say? Maybe we're not getting the results in our lives because we're not seeing our goals big enough. Maybe our dream is not big enough. Maybe we're so busy dreaming based on where we are that we're not activating the potential of where we could be. You know, that question keeps coming up time and time again. As a matter of fact, consider this. Maybe you are not living the life you desire because your dream is not big enough to stimulate the fire in your belly, to stimulate your deep desire to get it done. So we may be dreaming of eating in a fancy restaurant. I was in a restaurant with a friend, and when the check for 4 people comes to over $400, you're like, what did you eat? But it was one of those kind of restaurants. Everything on the menu, you couldn't pronounce it. But now that's a vision. Man, I see myself in eating in fancy restaurants. But imagine this, imagine owning the restaurant. You get the point. We may be seeing our goals too small to really stimulate our vision for bigger things. And maybe that's why we haven't really moved where we want to go. We're so busy looking at the alligators that we don't see how to drain the swamp and create dry land for our lives. One of my coaches years ago, I'm a network marketer, and one of my coaches years ago asked my goal, And my goal was to make $1 million a year. And man, I was excited about that. And when I said that proudly, he didn't seem to be impressed. And he said, why not make $1 million a month? And when he said that, I thought to myself, wow, I never thought of making $1 million a month. And so for our listeners today, just for a moment, think about whatever your goal is, multiply it by 10. So when he asked me that question, he started going in a little more detail. He said, well, $1 million a year is about $84,000 a month. I'm like, yep, calculated it myself. Okay. And when he started going down the list, he said, well, if you're making $84,000 a month, a rule of thumb, you need to set aside about 30% to deal with taxes. Okay, it's about $25,000. You need to set aside another 30% for dealing with your life, dealing emergencies and contingencies. So that's another $25,000. So $50,000 is gone. And when you look at a house now, just think about this. You look at a house. I was looking at the mortgage rates, and on a $400,000 house with a mortgage of about $350,000, the monthly payments at 7% are almost $2,500 a month. And that's not even a big house. That's not even a mansion. So, when people look at, I have a $1 million mindset, but then you bound it in by a small vision, then you say, man, if I made $1 million a month, everything I want would be taken care of in 1 month. And that's a sign that we have to look bigger. We have to dream bigger. We have to dream to that point where what we see for ourselves is so profound that it stimulates us. So instead of seeing yourself in the restaurant having dinner, see yourself owning a chain of restaurants. See where I'm going with this? So I challenge each and every one of us today that whatever your goals are, and I'm just dealing with finance, and the only reason I don't want people to think that all you ever talk about is money, Dr. Harris. It's just that money is the easiest way to measure things. Happiness is so personal. Abundance is so personal, what you consider. But money in the Bible, it says money answereth all things. So money is kind of a nice little measuring rod that we can all agree on. So whatever your goals are, multiply by 10. And once you multiply your goals by 10, now use your imagination to visualize what your life would be like if you achieved that goal. So Jim Carrey could see how his life would be if he had received a $20 million check. So those of you, many people say, man, I want a 6-figure income. So often you hear that banded around, a 6-figure income. So at the minimum, that's $100,000 a year. That's $84,000 a month. Thanks so much, Kenya. Kenya said, things that don't get measured can't be improved. That's Kenya Crooks, my favorite personal trainer. That's powerful. Things that can't be measured cannot be improved. Wow. So if this is the case, then let's look at the tool to give us the opportunity to dream bigger. Now, imagination is a powerful tool. Imagination is your power to create mental images of something not present to the senses. So when Jim Carrey was writing a $20 million check to himself, and I mean, he physically did it, his circumstances did not coincide with that vision. Matter of fact, I think he was staying on somebody's couch at the time. And so imagination now is our power to see beyond our present condition to the life we'd love to live. Albert Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge because knowledge is limited, where an imagination embraces the whole world. Imagination is your connection with the God mind. And when we look at the creation process, the God mind, the world is created complete. And so our relationship and our understanding of it really depends on our level of consciousness. And scripture says, seek first the kingdom, seek first the consciousness of that you desire. And so it is through your imagination that you can experience a consciousness big enough to generate that vibration inside you to attract that you want into your life. It's always an inside job. So once we acknowledge that our imagination is our connecting link between ourselves and the God mind, then that's saying anything you can conceive in your mind, you can achieve. Any vision that you have, you can achieve. In other words, you can't have a vision you can't achieve. It may be that you can't achieve it now. When you think of Roger Bannister, there was a time when the entire world agreed that nobody could run a mile in less than 4 minutes. And that is the way it is about most things. Most things are impossible until they're done. And so your imagination gives you that connection between infinite power so that you can give enough power to the things that you want to attract them into your life. There are two types of imagination. There's synthetic imagination. And really, synthetic imagination is to a large extent based on knowledge and information. So with synthetic imagination, you'll take different ideas, different concepts, and combine them and put them together and create something new. So it's like creating something new out of what already exists. The challenge with synthetic imagination is that it is based on what exists. Many people don't realize that Tesla actually worked for Thomas Edison at one point. When Tesla came to America, he had a high letter of recommendation from Edison's general manager in Europe, and he came in at the top level. And as they began to work together, Tesla and Edison eventually fell out. Edison gave Tesla a task that he thought was insoluble, and he said, I'll pay you $50,000 if you can solve this. And within 2 weeks, Tesla had solved it and wanted his $50,000, and Edison wouldn't pay him. That's kind of how they fell out. But Edison and Tesla felt that Edison operated from synthetic imagination. He took what was to make something new. And so that is why when Edison was interviewed by a newspaper reporter, and they said, Mr. Edison, you have failed over 3,000 times to find this so-called filament. Edison's defense was, I have successfully identified 3,000 ways that will not work, was attitude. When Tesla's creative process was to do it in his imagination. And so once he could see the vision in his imagination, his manifestation process is, how do I manifest the vision that I already see in my imagination? Seeing it in your imagination creates a vibration now that puts the law of attraction to work for you. And so therefore, Tesla was able to invent things, and we're talking 100 years ago. Tesla was able to invent things that right now, alternating current, the light that is operating in every home in the world, came from Tesla's inventions. Even the car, I mean, that's an honorary thing, but the point is, creative imagination gives you the ability to go beyond what is, and it gives you the ability to tap into infinite intelligence. So what is the process? How do we do this? And this is part one of this series. What's the foundation for being able to use your creative imagination? Well, the first key is this: believe it can be done. You notice when you say something profound that you're going to do something, I'm going to get a PhD. Can you imagine Jim Carrey? If Jim Carrey had shared with his close friends that I'm going to be paid $20 million for my acting ability, for my comic ability, they would have probably laughed at him. So a tip: when you believe that you can do it, and especially when you're trying to do incredible things, believe that anything you desire to do can be accomplished. That when you believe it can be done, when you believe you can run a 4-minute mile, when you believe you can make $1 million a month, when you believe you can transform the world. In other words, whatever you believe is true. Henry Ford said, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. So whatever you believe is true. So the first key to accessing your infinite imagination capabilities is to believe it can be done. Don't get involved with the how. You know, as smart as we are, we haven't created one baby. But yet we do our part to make a baby, to have a baby born. So step one, believe it can be done. So whatever your desires are right now, and as I said, take whatever your income goals are right now, multiply them by 10, and believe that you can accomplish it. Step two, eliminate the word impossible from your vocabulary and from your thinking. As long as you acknowledge impossible, guess what? It is impossible. Once you eliminate the word impossible from your thinking and from your words, then now the mindset is this: it just hasn't been done yet. So somebody says, Sandra, okay, how can you make $10 million, $12 million a year? She can say, well, I haven't done it, but it hasn't been done yet, but I'm going to do it. So when you take whatever your financial goals are and multiply them by 10, eliminate that word impossible. That opens the door now. You believe it can be done. You set up a vibration now to attract into your life that which is congruent with the results you're seeking. And then let the universe work for you. The third key, always be receptive to new ideas. You notice when you talk to people, you know, the people who listen to you, you're often attracted to. I think one of the great qualities of life is to have the power of being able to listen intelligently and engagingly with a person. So once you're open and receptive to new ideas now, you have literally programmed your mind to be like a radio antenna. You know, when you have a radio, and everything is digital now, okay. But in the days when you had analog radio, you would turn the dial until you could pick up the signal strong enough to satisfy your listening requirements. In consciousness, you adjust the dial, and the dial is your level of consciousness, so that now you can be able to receive these signals, these ideas from infinite intelligence. In other words, you dial into it. And so what this means now is the more you learn, the more you can learn. If life is like a mountain, then our journey is to constantly climb that mountain. And the higher you go up the mountain, the more you're able to see. You see, imagination is infinite, but it is often tempered by our knowledge. Okay? It can be overcome. So, example, they often say, there's an African proverb and it says, the man who has never left home thinks his mother is the best cook. So if he leaves home and that is his only belief that his mother is the best cook, when he goes someplace, he may not even eat the food because his mindset is, my mother's the best cook in the world. If she didn't cook it, I'm not eating it. So this idea of creating and connecting to your infinite intelligence through your imagination, these 3 steps lay the foundation for you, opening the channel. And the mindset of climbing the mountain of consciousness so that you can see above the forest, so that you can see what lies beyond, is the key to using your imagination to expand your goals. So let us review this morning. Imagination gives wings to your vision. Your imagination is not bounded by your condition. Number 2, imagination is tempered by exposure and education only because the more you know, the more you can see. And so it's a two-edged sword. If you want to do incredible things and access your imagination, you must do something. You must read more. You must do more. You must meditate more. That we'll be talking about that in the next lecture. But for now, accept the fact that you want to expand. Tune in your radio, your consciousness, so that you can receive the knowledge from infinite intelligence. Number 3, be very aware of now and next. Your greatest gift from God is the time. Your greatest gift to God is how you use the time. So from moment to moment, be on this journey of expanding your imagination, especially your creative imagination. And then let's follow the formula. Number 1, to always believe that you can do it. That whatever your 10K is, whatever take whatever your financial goals are, multiply them by 10, then number 1, believe you can achieve it. Believe you can add enough value to yourself and enough value to the world that you will attract that into your space. Number 2, eliminate the word impossible from your thoughts, from your words, from your consciousness. And number 3, be open and receptive to new ideas. When we can do these things, we have now laid the foundation now to connect up with infinite intelligence through the arm of our imagination to create the life that we desire, to be whatever we want to be, to do whatever we want to do, and to have whatever we desire. Always knowing that the best is yet to come. So it is. And so, my friends, your assignment for today is to take whatever your goals are, financial and otherwise, but let's start with the finances, multiply it by 10. And then to start conditioning your mind to believe you can achieve it. And then get busy doing it. Those of you on Instagram, thank you so much. Share this message with others. On Facebook, share this message with others. Be sure to go to our website, www.herbertharris.info. There are lots of goodies there for you. But go there and check out our home study course, because a part of this process of expanding your imagination is something that you can do at home, something you can work on your own. Once again, I say to you, thanks for being with us. Whatever you do, be what you want to be, do what you want to do, and have whatever you desire, always knowing that the best is yet to come.